Growing up, I always thought my sister Pearl hung the moon and stars. Even now, watching her stride into our favorite coffee shop in her designer outfit, I can't help but marvel at how she commands attention without even trying. That's my big sister. Always perfect, always shining. I'm Cameron, and I've spent 21 years trying to measure up to Pearl's shadow. Today was supposed to be different, though. Today I was finally going to tell her my big news, my acceptance to law school. Sorry I'm late, Cam, Pearl says, air kissing my cheek before sliding into the booth. You would not believe the morning I've had. Alejandro surprised me with a weekend trip to Cabo. I force a smile, fingering the acceptance letter in my pocket. That sounds amazing. How are things with Alejandro? Absolutely perfect. He just made junior partner at his firm. She waves down a barista. Oat milk latte, extra hot. The familiar knot of inadequacy tightens in my stomach. While Pearl jets off to exotic locations with her successful boyfriend, I'm working 2 jobs just to afford my tiny studio apartment. Actually, I wanted to tell you something. I start, but my phone buzzes. Unknown number. I usually ignore these calls, but something makes me answer. Hello, is this Cameron Romero? This is Sandra from First National Bank. The rest of the conversation becomes a blur of words that don't make sense. Terms like insufficient funds and repeated withdrawals bounce around my head like ping pong balls. Is everything okay? Pearl asks when I hang up, her perfectly shaped eyebrows furrowed in concern. I can barely speak. The bank. They're saying my college fund is almost empty. There's only about $2,000 left. What? That's impossible. Dad set up that account when you were born. I know. My hands are shaking as I pull up my banking app. It should have over 60,000 in it. I've been checking the balance every week, counting down until tuition was due. But now, the screen loads, confirming my worst nightmare. Transaction after transaction, spanning the past 3 years. Regular withdrawals, always in neat, rounded amounts. Let me see that, Pearl says, reaching for my phone. I notice something strange, the way her hand trembles slightly, how she won't quite meet my eyes. And then I see it. The withdrawal locations, the same coffee shop where Pearl gets her morning lattes, the boutique where she bought that designer bag last Christmas, the spa she's always raving about. Pearl? My voice cracks. Why are your regular hangouts showing up on my account withdrawals? She sets the phone down carefully, too carefully. I can explain. Explain what? How you've been stealing from me? Don't be so dramatic. I was gonna pay it back. The coffee shop suddenly feels too small, too hot. The perfect facade I've believed in my whole life crumbles before my eyes. How did you even get access to my account? Dad made me a cosigner when you turned 18, remember? In case of emergencies. She takes a delicate sip of her latte. Besides, it's not like you needed it right away. I stand up so quickly my chair scrapes against the floor. Several heads turn our way, but I don't care anymore. Not like I needed it. I've been working my ass off saving every penny because I thought I had a safety net, because I thought my sister had my back. Lower your voice, Pearl hisses. You're making a scene. A scene! You stole my future. I grab my bag, nearly knocking over my untouched coffee. Does Dad know? Does Mom? Of course not, and you're not going to tell them. Pearl's perfect composure slips for just a moment. Look, I'll figure something out. Just give me time. I laugh, but it comes out more like a sob. Time? Law school starts in 2 months, Pearl. 2 months. As I storm out of the coffee shop, I hear Pearl calling after me, but I don't stop. I can't. My whole world is imploding, and the person I trusted most is the one who lit the fuse. Back in my car, I pull out the acceptance letter. My dream come true turned nightmare. Tears blur the words as I read it again. We are pleased to offer you admission to Stanford Law School. My phone buzzes with texts from Pearl, but I ignore them. Instead, I find myself dialing Dad's number. As it rings, I notice an old envelope that fell out of my glove compartment, my grandfather's handwriting visible on the corner. I never got around to reading his last letter to me. Maybe it's time I did. My hands shake as I unfold Grandpa's letter, but before I can read it, Dad calls back. Cameron, what's wrong? I saw your missed call. Dad, I need you to come over, now. It's about the college fund. An hour later, I'm pacing my small apartment while Dad sits on my worn couch, staring at my phone's banking records. Pearl's texts have evolved from threats to pleading, but I've silenced my phone. I don't understand, Dad says, running a hand through his graying hair. Pearl would never. Look at the evidence. I thrust another bank statement at him. 3 years of withdrawals, Dad. 3 years she's been stealing from me. The doorbell rings, making us both jump. I peek through the peephole to see Pearl, mascara smeared under her eyes. Go away, I shout through the door. Daddy's car is outside. I know you told him. Pearl's voice cracks. At least let me explain. Dad stands up. Open the door, Cameron. I do, but I stay behind it like a shield. Pearl bursts in, designer purse clutched to her chest like armor. Daddy, I can explain everything. Alejandro and I, we had some investments go wrong. And investments? I slam the door. You mean like that Cabo trip you were just bragging about? That was different. That was enough. Dad's voice silences us both. I've never heard him sound so tired. Pearl, is what these bank statements show true? Did you take money from your sister's account? Pearl's lower lip trembles. I was going to pay it back. Alejandro promised once his investments matured. Stop lying! I snatch her purse, dumping its contents onto my coffee table. Look at this, Dad. $1,000 wallet, designer sunglasses. Meanwhile, I've been working at a diner and living on ramen. You're just jealous because I have a real life while you're stuck being Little Miss Perfect. Pearl shouts back. Perfect? I got into Stanford Law, Pearl. That money was for my tuition. The room goes silent. Dad looks up sharply. You got into Stanford? Yesterday. I laugh bitterly. I was going to tell everyone at dinner on Sunday. Surprise, right? Pearl sinks onto my couch, suddenly looking small. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You never asked. You were too busy stealing my future to fund your Instagram lifestyle. Dad stands up, his face hard. Pearl, get your things. We're going to the bank first thing tomorrow to sort this out. Daddy, please. Not another word. His voice is steel. Cameron, I promise we'll fix this. After they leave, I collapse onto my couch, emotionally drained. My eyes fall on Grandpa's letter, still unopened. With trembling fingers, I break the seal. My dearest Cameron, it begins. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I've watched you grow into a remarkable young woman, so different from your sister. While Pearl seeks the spotlight, you seek justice. That's why I've made arrangements. I read the next lines 3 times, not believing my eyes. A trust fund in your name, managed by Harrison and Associates law firm. I've instructed them to release it when you turn 21 or upon acceptance to law school, whichever comes first. My phone rings. Sarah, my best friend. Cam, you okay? Your dad just called my mom asking if I'd check on you. Sarah, I whisper, you need to come over, now. 20 minutes later, Sarah sits cross-legged on my floor, reading Grandpa's letter while I pace. Holy shit, she breathes. How much is in the trust fund? I don't know. The letter just says to contact the law firm. So, what are you going to tell Pearl? I stop pacing. Nothing, not yet. Cam? No, listen. I grab Grandpa's letter. He knew, somehow he knew Pearl would do something like this. Look at what he wrote. While Pearl seeks the spotlight, you seek justice. Sarah frowns. So what's your plan? I sink down beside her. I'm going to let this play out. Let Pearl and Dad try to fix this. Meanwhile, I'll contact the law firm quietly. That's a bit cold, isn't it? Cold? I pick up Pearl's $1,000 wallet from where it still lies on my coffee table. She stole from me for 3 years, Sarah. 3 years of watching me work double shifts while she lived it up with my money. And now? I toss the wallet aside. Now? Now we let karma do its job. Harrison and Associates occupies the entire 20th floor of a gleaming downtown office building. My diner uniform feels out of place among the suits and designer heels clicking across the marble lobby. Ms. Romero? A silver-haired woman extends her hand. I'm Patricia Harrison. Thank you for coming in before your shift. She leads me to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows. My hands sweat as I pull out Grandpa's letter. Ah, yes. Patricia smiles, opening a thick folder. Your grandfather was a dear friend and client. He was quite specific about the conditions of your trust. How specific? Well, for one, he insisted the trust remain completely confidential from your family until you chose to disclose it. She slides a document across the table, and as you can see, the amount is quite substantial. I stare at the number, convinced I'm counting zeros wrong. This? This can't be right. Your grandfather made some very wise investments. Plus, he added to it every year until his passing. Patricia's eyes soften. He always said you reminded him of himself. Hardworking, determined, ethical. My phone buzzes. Another text from Pearl. Dad's making me sell my car. Please talk to him. I silence it as Patricia continues. The funds are immediately available. Should we proceed with the transfer? Before I can answer, the conference room door opens. A young assistant pokes her head in. Ms. Harrison, sorry to interrupt, but there's an urgent call from the bank regarding Pearl Romero's accounts. My head snaps up. Patricia notices. Give me a moment, Cameron. She steps out, leaving me with the trust documents. I pull out my phone, opening Pearl's latest text thread. This isn't fair. Alejandro says he needs more time. The bank is threatening to foreclose on my condo. The conference room door opens again. Patricia returns, looking concerned. Cameron, I should mention, your grandfather left specific instructions about Pearl as well. What kind of instructions? He anticipated she might face financial difficulties. There's a provision in the trust allowing you to help her, but only under strict conditions. I lean forward. What conditions? Any financial assistance must be tied to employment or education, no direct cash transfers. Patricia pauses. Your grandfather believed in earning one's way. My phone lights up with a call from Dad. I answer on speaker. Cameron, are you sitting down? His voice sounds strained. Pearl's in trouble, big trouble. The bank is calling in her loans, and apparently Alejandro's been using her credit cards without her knowledge. She's looking at potential bankruptcy. I meet Patricia's knowing gaze. Somehow, Grandpa had seen this coming. Dad, I need to tell you something. I'm at Harrison and Associates right now. The law firm? Why? Because Grandpa left me a trust fund, a big one. The silence on the other end stretches out. How big? He finally asks. I tell him. He swears softly. Does Pearl know? No, and I'm not ready to tell her yet. Cameron, Dad, she stole from me for 3 years. She watched me work doubles and live on nothing while she spent my money on luxury vacations. She's still your sister. I look at the trust documents, then at Patricia. The trust has conditions. If I help Pearl, it has to be through employment or education. No handouts. She needs help now, Cameron. The bank, then she needs to earn it. My voice hardens. Tell her to meet me at the diner tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. sharp. The diner? But those are my terms, Dad. 6 a.m. If she's serious about fixing this, she'll be there. After hanging up, I turned to Patricia. I'd like to proceed with the transfer, please, and I need your help setting up something else. An hour later, I leave the law firm with everything arranged. As I walk to my car, another text from Pearl arrives. Dad told me about tomorrow. You can't be serious. I type back, 6 a.m., don't be late. And Pearl, leave the designer handbag at home. That evening, as I tie on my diner apron for my shift, Sarah stops by my station. So, how did it go at the lawyer's? I hand her the trust fund documents. Her eyes widen. Holy shit, Cam, you're set for life. Maybe. I watch through the window as a repo man hooks up Pearl's BMW in the parking lot across the street. She stands there crying, still clutching her designer purse. But first, it's time for my sister to learn about karma. Sarah follows my gaze. You really think she'll show up tomorrow? She better, because right now, I'm her only hope. I straighten my apron, and hope comes with an apron and sensible shoes. 5:58 a.m. I watch through the diner's window as Pearl's Uber pulls up. She steps out wearing yoga pants and a designer hoodie, her version of casual wear. I can't believe she actually came, Sarah whispers from behind the counter. The bell chimes as Pearl enters, looking around the nearly empty diner like she's walked into a foreign country. You're early, I say, tossing her an apron. Good, first rule, early is on time is late. This is ridiculous. Pearl holds the apron at arm's length. I have a business degree. I can't work as a waitress. Funny, that business degree didn't stop you from stealing from me. I thrust a notepad at her. Put the apron on. Your shift starts in 1 minute. For how long? Until you've paid back every penny you took from me. By my calculations, that's about 8 months of full-time work. Pearl's face drains of color. 8 months? But Alejandro says, Alejandro? I laugh. You mean the guy who maxed out your credit cards and disappeared? He didn't disappear. He's in Dubai on business. Right. Is that why his phone's disconnected and his apartment's empty? Pearl sways slightly. Sarah quickly pulls out a chair. Sit down before you fall down, Sarah says. I'll get you some coffee. How did you know about his apartment? Pearl whispers. Because unlike you, I do my research. Did you know he's done this before? 3 other women in the past 2 years. He finds someone with good credit, convinces them to invest in his business ventures, maxes out their cards, and vanishes. Pearl's hands shake as she takes the coffee from Sarah. That's not, he wouldn't. He did, and now you're facing bankruptcy because you trusted him instead of your family. I check my watch. Your shift started 30 seconds ago. Apron, now. The morning rush hits hard. Pearl struggles with every order, dropping plates and mixing up tickets. By 10 a.m., she's near tears. I can't do this, she wails after another customer complains about cold eggs. Yes, you can. I grab her arm, pulling her into the break room. You managed to figure out how to drain my college fund. You can figure out how to carry plates. Why are you being so mean? Mean? I slam my hand on the table. Mean is watching your sister work 60-hour weeks while you steal her money? Mean is lying to my face for 3 years. I said I was sorry. No, you didn't. Not once have you actually apologized. Pearl slumps against the wall, mascara running. What do you want from me? I want you to grow up, to face consequences, to understand what it's like to actually work for something. The break room door opens. Sarah pokes her head in. Cam, that lawyer's here? The one from yesterday? Patricia Harrison stands at the counter, looking oddly at home in the greasy diner. She carries a thick envelope. Everything's arranged as you requested, she says, sliding the envelope across the counter. The payment schedule, the employment contract, and the conditions for financial assistance. Pearl looks between us. What is this? Your way out. I open the envelope. Grandpa left me a trust fund, a big one, enough to cover my law school and then some. He also left provisions for helping you, but only if you earn it. What? What kind of provisions? Option 1. You work here full time for 8 months to repay what you stole. Option 2. You enroll in a vocational program while working part time. The trust will cover your tuition and help with the bankruptcy proceedings, but only if you maintain both work and studies. Pearl stares at the papers, then at her reflection in the chrome napkin holder. Smeared makeup, messy hair, stained apron. What about Alejandro? What about him? If he comes back, then you'll have a choice to make. I push the contract toward her. But right now, your choice is simple. Sign the papers or walk away. But if you walk, don't ever ask me for help again. Patricia produces a pen. Pearl's hand shakes as she reaches for it. 8 months, she whispers, of honest work, no shortcuts, no excuses. And you'll help with the bankruptcy? If you stick to the program, one missed shift, one failed class, and the deal's off. Pearl signs her name, then looks up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I really messed up, didn't I? For the first time, I hear genuine remorse in her voice. Yes, you did. I take the signed contract. Now get back out there. Table 6 needs coffee. As Pearl shuffles back to work, Sarah leans in close. You're enjoying this a little too much, aren't you? I watch my sister attempt to balance a coffee pot while writing down an order. Maybe, but sometimes karma needs a little help. 3 weeks into Pearl's rehabilitation program, I arrive at the diner for my morning shift to find her already there, crying into the phone. Please, Alejandro, just call me back. I know you're getting these messages. I snatch the phone from her hand. No personal calls during work hours. You know the rules. He posted pictures. Pearl shoves her tablet at me. Look, he's in Greece with some blonde. Sure enough, there's Alejandro on a yacht, champagne in hand, with a woman who could be a model draped across him. The caption reads, Living my best life with my soulmate, blessed. That's my bracelet she's wearing, Pearl whispers, the one he gave me for our anniversary. I delete Alejandro's number from her phone. Focus on your shift. Your vocational counselor is coming at noon to discuss program options. I can't think about that right now. He's spending my money on some Instagram influencer. No, he spent your credit on her. There's a difference. I tie my apron. And you spent my money on him. Karma's funny that way. The morning passes in a blur of coffee refills and toast orders. Pearl moves mechanically, her usual mistakes now replaced with a zombie-like efficiency born of misery. At noon, Ms. Rodriguez from the Vocational Center arrives with a stack of brochures. Pearl, I've reviewed your aptitude tests, she says, spreading materials across the break room table. Given your business background, I think medical office administration could be a good fit. It's a 9-month program, combines your organizational skills with practical healthcare knowledge. Pearl stares blankly at the brochures. 9 months? Part-time evening classes, while you continue working here. Ms. Rodriguez smiles encouragingly. The program has a 94% job placement rate. I used to have a corner office, Pearl mutters, and now you have a chance to earn one honestly. I interject. Sign up or don't. Your choice. Pearl picks up a brochure just as Sarah bursts into the break room. Cam, Pearl, you need to see this. She holds up her phone, showing a local news website. The headline makes Pearl gasp. Local investment advisor arrested in multi-state fraud scheme. There's Alejandro's mugshot. Federal agents arrested Alexander James Oliver, known to victims as Alejandro, at Athens International Airport. Sarah reads, he is wanted in connection with a series of investment frauds targeting wealthy women. Pearl runs to the bathroom. The sounds of retching echo down the hall. Should we? Sarah gestures toward the bathroom. Give her a minute. Ms. Rodriguez gathers her materials. Perhaps we should reschedule? No. Pearl's voice comes from the doorway. Her face is pale but composed. I want to sign up. Today. Pearl? He's going to jail, isn't he? She grabs the enrollment forms. For a long time? I nod. Federal fraud charges? He'll be lucky to get less than 10 years. Pearl signs the forms with shaking hands. Good, because I'm going to be too busy to visit him anyway. Later that evening, as we're closing up, Pearl breaks down again. I'm so stupid, she sobs, wiping tables with angry strokes. Everyone warned me about him. Dad, Mom, even you. Yes, we did. How did I not see it? The constant trips, the mysterious business meetings, the way he always had an excuse for why our investments weren't paying off yet. Because you saw what you wanted to see. I start stacking chairs. Just like you didn't see how wrong it was to steal from me. Pearl stops wiping. I see it now. God, Cam, I see it every day when I put on this stupid apron. Good, that's the point. Is that why you're doing this? Making me work here instead of just helping with the bankruptcy? No. I face her directly. I'm doing this because Grandpa was right. Money without effort corrupts. He knew it about you, and he knew it about me, too. That's why the trust has conditions. What do you mean? I can't touch the principal until I finish law school. I still have to work, still have to earn my way. I throw her a fresh cleaning rag. Just like you. Pearl catches the rag, then looks around the empty diner. 9 months of classes, 8 months of work here. My life's going to be nothing but studying and serving pancakes. Better than prison, which is where your boyfriend's headed. Ex-boyfriend, she corrects, then manages a weak smile. At least I'll learn how to make decent coffee. That's the spirit. I flip the closed sign. Now finish those tables. We open at 6 tomorrow, and your shift starts at 5:30. 5:30? Pearl groans. What happened to early is on time. You've been promoted to opening duties. Congratulations. As we leave, Pearl pauses in the parking lot. Cam, I really am sorry. For everything. I know. I unlock my car. See you at 5:30. Don't be late. 2 months into Pearl's sentence, Mom and Dad decide to have a family dinner. I arrive to find Pearl already there, studying a medical terminology textbook at the kitchen counter. Look who's become the responsible one, Dad says, stirring his famous chili. Pearl doesn't look up. Quiz me on these prefixes. I have a test tomorrow. Later, Mom interrupts, setting down wine glasses. We need to discuss something as a family. My stomach tightens. Mom's "we need to discuss" tone never means anything good. The bankruptcy trustee called, Dad says. They're investigating Alejandro's assets, and, well, they found something. Pearl's head snaps up. What? A storage unit in his name. It's full of luxury items. Watches, jewelry, designer bags. They think they're from his other victims. Dad pauses. Including your missing Cartier bracelet. The one the blonde was wearing in Greece, I mutter. They want you to come identify what's yours, Mom adds. But there's more. The prosecutor thinks if you testify about your relationship with him, they could add charges. Pearl's textbook falls to the floor. Testify? In court? You don't have to, Dad says quickly, but it could help his other victims. And maybe get some of your money back, I add. Pearl picks up her book with shaking hands. I can't. I have classes, work. I'll cover your shifts, I offer, surprising myself. This is important. You'd do that? Pearl, he stole from you, from other women. He needs to face consequences. Like how you made me face consequences? There's no bitterness in her voice, just understanding. Exactly. Mom clears her throat. There's something else. The prosecutor mentioned a plea deal. If Alejandro returns the money, no. Pearl's voice is firm. He doesn't get to buy his way out of this. Dad looks proud. That's my girl. The doorbell rings. Sarah stands on the porch, looking anxious. Sorry to interrupt family dinner, but Pearl needs to see this. She holds up her phone. It's a message from Alejandro's Instagram. My loves, my heart is heavy. Some misunderstandings have led to serious accusations. But know that everything I did was for love. Pearl, baby, please call my lawyer. We can work this out. Pearl reads it twice, then hands the phone back to Sarah. Can I borrow your phone, Cam? Why? Because I blocked him on mine, and I want to reply. I hand her my phone. She types quickly, then shows us. Save the sob story for your cellmate. See you in court. Islau karma. Pearl? Mom gasps. What? He deserves it. Pearl returns to her textbook. Now, someone quiz me on these prefixes before my brain explodes. Later, as Sarah and I do dishes, we watch Pearl studying with Dad. She's different, Sarah observes. Like, actually different. The diner changes people, I say. Nothing like carrying plates of eggs to teach humility. It's more than that. Sarah hands me a wet plate. She's growing up. My phone buzzes. A text from Patricia Harrison. Prosecutor wants to meet tomorrow regarding Pearl's testimony. Also, your law school deferment paperwork is approved. Stanford is ready when you are. You still haven't told her about Stanford, have you? Sarah asks, reading over my shoulder. Not yet. One life-changing event at a time. Pearl's voice carries from the living room. Hyper means excessive. Hypo means deficient. And if I have to memorize one more medical term, my brain will explode. That's my cue, I say, grabbing her textbook. Hey, Pearl, break time? Let's talk about your testimony. Can we do it over coffee? Real coffee, not diner sludge? You're paying. She pats her waitress apron. Tips are in my car. I'm good for it. As we head out, Dad catches my arm. You're doing good, Cameron, with all of this. Thanks, Dad. But maybe ease up on the 5:30 shifts. Your sister actually cried over pancake batter yesterday. I laugh. That's how you know it's working. Pearl honks the horn of her beat-up Toyota, a far cry from her repossessed BMW. Coming? These medical terms won't memorize themselves. You know, I tell Dad, I think she's going to be okay. Thanks to you. No, I watch Pearl reorganize her flashcards. Thanks to Grandpa, he knew exactly what we both needed. Pearl honks again. Coffee, now, my brain is dying. Duty calls, I grab my keys. The rehabilitation of Pearl continues. The courthouse looms before us like a mountain. Pearl clutches her handbag, a simple leather one now, bought with her own tips, as we climb the steps. I think I'm gonna throw up, she whispers. Not on those shoes, I say. You just bought them with your overtime pay? The prosecutor, Ms. Walsh, meets us in the hallway. Pearl, how are you holding up? Ask me after. Remember what we practiced. Just tell the truth about your relationship with Mr. Oliver, the investments, the credit cards, and how I stole from my sister to cover his debts? Pearl's voice cracks. Yes, transparency is crucial. We enter the courtroom. Alejandro sits at the defense table, wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of his usual designer suits. He turns, flashing Pearl that familiar, charming smile. Pearl grips my hand. He looks exactly the same. That's how predators work. They don't change. Their prey does. The bailiff calls Pearl to the stand. As she's sworn in, I notice her hands aren't shaking anymore. Ms. Romero, Ms. Walsh begins. Please tell the court how you met Alexander Oliver. Pearl's voice starts soft but grows stronger. At a charity gala. He said he was the investment advisor. He was charming, sophisticated, everything I thought I wanted to be. And when did he first ask you for money? 3 months in. He said he had inside information about a tech startup, promised triple returns within 6 months. What happened to that investment? There wasn't one, but by then he had access to my credit cards, my bank accounts. Pearl takes a deep breath. I was so desperate to keep up with his lifestyle that I stole from my sister's college fund. Alejandro's lawyer stands. Objection. Relevance? Goes to pattern of behavior, Ms. Walsh counters. Shows how the defendant manipulated victims into desperate actions. Overruled. Continue. Pearl describes the next 2 years, the fake investments, the lavish trips, the empty promises. When she reaches the Greece photos, her voice hardens. That's when I finally saw the truth. He wasn't just stealing from me, he was mocking me. No further questions. Alejandro's lawyer stands for cross-examination. Ms. Romero, isn't it true that you willingly gave Mr. Oliver access to your accounts? Yes, because and isn't it true that you never reported these so-called thefts until after he left? Because I believed, in fact, didn't you enjoy the lifestyle his investments provided? The trips, the gifts? Pearl sits straighter. You mean the lifestyle I paid for with stolen money? Yes, I enjoyed it. I was stupid and selfish and wrong. But at least I'm facing my mistakes. Is your client brave enough to do the same? The lawyer blinks, thrown off script. No further questions. As Pearl leaves the stand, Alejandro tries to catch her eye. She walks past him like he's invisible. Outside the courtroom, she finally breaks down. I did it, she sobs into my shoulder. I actually did it. You did great. I hand her a tissue. Ready for your shift? She laughs through her tears. Seriously? I just testified against my fraudster ex-boyfriend. And tables 7 through 12 need coffee. Life goes on. Actually, Ms. Walsh interrupts, there's something else. The defense has offered a plea deal. Pearl wipes her eyes. I thought we rejected that. This is different. They're offering full restitution to all victims, including your sister's college fund. In exchange for what? A lighter sentence, 10 years instead of 20. Pearl looks at me. It's your money they stole. What do you think? I think about Grandpa's trust fund, about Stanford waiting for me, about Pearl's transformation these past months. Take the deal, I say, but not because of the money. Then why? Because you've learned your lesson. Maybe 10 years will teach him his. That evening, at the diner, Pearl serves coffee with a new confidence. Sarah watches her from behind the counter. She's actually getting good at this, Sarah observes. Don't tell her that. She'll want a raise. Pearl approaches, notepad in hand. Table 9 wants to know if we serve breakfast all day. What did you tell them? That their server will be with them shortly, because I'm off in 5 minutes. Some of us have medical terminology to study. I grab my apron. Go, make those prefixes your friend. Hey, Cam? Pearl pauses at the door. Thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. You still have 4 months of shifts left. She grins. Yes, boss. As she leaves, Sarah nudges me. When are you going to tell her about Stanford? I watch Pearl get into her used Toyota medical textbook already in hand. Soon, but right now, she needs to focus on her own journey. Look at you, all wise and philosophical. Must be all those karma lessons finally sinking in. The graduation ceremony for the Medical Office Administration program is held in the community college's auditorium. I sit between Mom and Dad, watching Pearl fidget with her cap tassel. Stop messing with it, Mom whispers. You'll ruin the photos. I can't believe she's actually graduating, Dad says, his voice thick with pride. Sarah leans forward from the row behind us. I can't believe she's valedictorian. When they call Pearl's name, Our entire row erupts in cheers. She crosses the stage with confidence, so different from the broken woman who cried over Instagram photos of her ex-boyfriend. After the ceremony, we gather at the diner. Pearl insisted, said it was only right to celebrate here. Speech, Sarah calls out, tapping her coffee cup with a spoon. Pearl stands, still wearing her graduation gown. First, I want to thank everyone who supported me, especially my family. Dad for believing in me. Mom for all the late-night study snacks. Sarah for covering my shifts when I had exams. She turns to me. And Cameron, my sister, my boss, my karma enforcer. Everyone laughs. 8 months ago, I thought working here was a punishment, but it taught me more than my business degree ever did about responsibility, hard work, and most importantly, about making things right. She pulls an envelope from her gown. Which is why I want to give you this. I open it to find a cashier's check, the exact amount she took from my college fund. Pearl, you don't have to. Yes, I do. It's from my savings, my tips, and my new signing bonus. Signing bonus? Dad asks. Pearl grins. I got a job. Medical office manager at Dr. Anderson's practice. Full benefits, decent salary, and most importantly, I earned it myself. More cheers, more coffee poured. As the celebration continues, I slip outside to call Patricia Harrison. Everything's set for Stanford, she confirms. Your deferment ends next month. Will you tell her today? Actually, I need one more favor. That evening, as Pearl counts her last night's tips, I drop a letter on her station. What's this? Open it. She reads, her eyes widening. Stanford Law School? But this is addressed to you. Keep reading. Dear Ms. Romero, we are pleased to confirm your enrollment for the upcoming fall semester. Her head snaps up. You're going to Stanford? When were you going to tell me? Right now. Actually, there's more. I hand her another envelope. Grandpa's trust isn't just paying for my tuition, it's also paying for an apartment. 2 bedrooms. Pearl stares at the lease agreement. Are you asking me to move to California with me? Yes, Dr. Anderson's practice has a sister office in Palo Alto. They're always looking for experienced office managers. But I just started here, and you've already proven yourself. Plus, the salary's better, and you'd be closer to some pretty good law schools if you're interested. Law school? Me? Why not? You aced your certification program. You understand medical terminology, office management, and thanks to Alejandro's case, you know more about fraud law than most first-year students. Pearl sits down hard. This is a lot. Take time to think about it. But remember, you're not the same person who fell for a con man's schemes. You're not even the same person who started working here 8 months ago. She fingers the lease agreement. What if I mess up again? Then you'll fix it again. That's what growing up means. Pearl stands suddenly, pulling me into a fierce hug. When did you get so wise? She whispers. Probably around the same time you got so strong. Sarah appears with fresh coffee. Group hug time? We pull her in, all 3 of us laughing and crying. So, Pearl says, wiping her eyes, when do we leave for California? We? She holds up the lease. Someone needs to make sure you don't live on ramen through law school. Besides, I hear Palo Alto has great coffee shops. Better than our diner? Pearl looks around at the worn booths, the sticky menus, the ancient coffee makers. Nothing's better than our diner. This place saved me. No, I correct her. You saved yourself. The diner just gave you the chance. Thanks to Grandpa, Pearl adds softly. He knew exactly what we both needed. Speaking of needs, Sarah interrupts. Table 6 needs coffee, and you're still on the clock. Pearl grabs the coffee pot, grinning. Some things never change, but some things do, I say, watching my sister, confident, capable, transformed, work her last shift with pride instead of shame. Karma, it turns out, isn't just about punishment. Sometimes it's about second chances, about finding your way back to who you were meant to be all along.